This is Phil Stamper, the president of wrestling, and you're watching the 3 Count Podcast. And always remember to trust in Phil.
Knew that she raised one. All of your hate won't change now.
Welcome everybody to another great edition of the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering the Ring. I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, and we always have, the same person on the show with me. So let's go down the roster. He is my longest friend. He's been with me since we were in Nebraska together. He's been running since 97. He is also a veteran as well. This is the thing about him is that, he calls me on my bullshit when it happens. So give it up to the man, the myth himself, Lou the Franchise.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get this rolling.
So this is the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering the Ring, which means one thing, we have a special guest for you. I'm not even gonna front. Him and I, we've worked together. I've definitely went out and searched and fought and pulled, and now we've got him on the show. You find this man at MVW, GCW, TPW, KFW, EWA, AEW, CZW, WOW, Outbreak, Fight Club, and so many more. This man is a trekker, man. He's gone everywhere. I feel like every time I turn around and see him, he's somewhere new. But he is the hitman for hire. And give it up for Mr. Grimm.
Yeah, what's up, man? How are you?
Dude, I'm just excited that I finally got you on the show.
Yeah, look, like I said before, it took a minute. The first attempt didn't really go through like it was supposed to, but better late than never, right?
Always. And that's the one thing they talk about wrestling, right? It's the payoff at the end, man. And that's what I'm hyped about is that it doesn't matter how long it takes, man, we getting it done. And that's what I love about it. So my first question for you, man, and just right off the jump, who is Mr. Grimm?
Mr. Grimm is me. Grimm was like a nickname that I got when I was a kid, by my friend who's currently deceased. So I decided to kind of, use that name to pay homage to him a little bit. The name originated from me liking wearing skulls all the time. And it was one day he came up to me because I'm I lived in DC. So he was like, cuz, what are you, a Grim Reaper always coming out here wearing skulls? What, you about to kill him off? I'm like, no. So he just started calling me Grim. And, I just kind of stuck with it.
No, man, that's an awesome story. I'm glad to know the name come from childhood. That's how my nickname came along too. I was just being made fun of because my name's Clifford and everybody's like, oh, it's the big red dog, and it just stuck. So trust, I can relate.
That's funny.
My next question for you, man, is what's been the hardest thing about being a pro wrestler pre-pandemic and now during the pandemic?
I would say before it was just the politics, because a lot of times people, they kind of base their judgments about you off of what other people say. So it's they don't really know you personally, but because somebody has, a bad experience or something between y'all happen, it's just it kind of closes some doors because that person's oh, well, since this person that I'm cool with isn't doesn't mess with them, I'm not gonna mess with them either. So that's kind of, been my issue. I would say, pre-pandemic and still as the pandemic is going on, a lot of people really, I don't kiss ass. I'm not with a clique. I'm pretty much to myself. Even in the locker room, I'm, usually to myself. I don't like being involved in the drama and, the he say, she say, because let something be said. Because I'm with them, it's going to be oh, yeah, well, Grimm, he was with him too. So, as you can see, a lot of my bookings are out of state, not in the area, because I just don't want to deal with the drama. I had a lot of drama, when I was training, and, called a bad name because a guy that I had an issue with, he went and, made our personal vendetta, everybody else's problem. So he started saying stuff about me, and, then the whole organization stopped messing with me because of rumors that he spread. So,
Damn.
yeah.
That's wild. That's wild. And the thing too is, like, if anybody watched like any of your matches, they just know like your work ethic like speaks for itself. Like I'm gonna put that over. Like whether you're like just whoever you're working with, man, it's amazing to see. So I just wanted like continue like like I said, I'm gonna put you over because like you do, man. Like, and I say it, you're one of the hardest working people like I see in the business. Like I'm just like, damn, man, like how this man is like. He's like so far, and like even you said it before, like before we even started recording, like you still have a long road to go. But I'm like, yo, man, like you're definitely making the waves to get through.
I mean, I'm trying because, even from when I was younger, it was always, I can't do this or I can't do that or I'm not going to accomplish this. And, once I got older, I started thinking, for myself and not really worrying about, what people said or just using what they say as fuel. Because if somebody says that I can't do it, then, it's like, I want to prove them wrong. When I started training, like these same guys that, had issues with me, they were saying, oh, well, you're not going to make it far with your attitude. I mean, but granted, I did have an attitude, back then because I was a dude coming off the streets. Like I still had that street mentality. And I had to learn to, just some battles just aren't worth, verbally or physically fighting.
Right.
It was, just kind of learning my place, and even now I still hate saying that. I still cringe when I say that because, me, I've always, been my own person. And it's just in this business, if you want to make it, you just have to learn your place. Like, because if you don't, you're not going to get far. Like, you can't be one of those guys with like a street mentality like I had. Somebody says something about you, just go punch them in the mouth and then, call it a day. Or if, somebody has heat with you, oh, hey, man, let's square up or whatever. And then, settle it that way. Like, I had to learn, I can't, like, everybody isn't about that life. They feel because they're a veteran in this business that they're entitled to talk to you or treat you any kind of way. And me, I didn't accept that. Like, because I'm a man first. So, yeah. I mean, I'm just me, bro. Like,
Well, and that kind of leads into like my next question, man, is like I know you talked about like knowing your place and just kind of like and it cringes you, but then you also have to navigate the waters properly. So like what advice would you want to give to like up and coming wrestlers?
for up and coming wrestlers, I would say, like, always be open-minded to learning new things. Like, what I was told, keep your eyes and your ears open, keep your mouth closed. And I tell people that to this day, like, that's been, one of the best advice that somebody has given me, because sometimes, even with me being so argumentative or so eager to challenge authority, it's like, sometimes if you just sit back, listen, watch, and pay attention, you'll see that you actually don't know everything that you think that you know. And that was, something with me. And especially now, when I try to encourage and show like younger guys the route to go, some of them, and I mean, I've kind of gotten to the point where I kind of, stopped taking people under my wing, because every time I did it, it never really turned out good. People would, I mean, it's just like they would just make me look bad, or even not even, take the advice that I'm giving them, into consideration. It's like, if you look at my career and you look at everybody else, and like just say, let's say Maryland, DC, Virginia, it's not many people out here who has the resume that I have. And I got there, it wasn't an accident that my resume is like this. You know, I had to put in the hours, put in, you know, sometimes well, a lot of times I took road trips where it was just me going down for an opportunity. Like I wasn't always looking to get paid. And, you know, now guys are like, oh yeah, man, you know, they're not paying that much, so I'm not going to go down there. Me, the opportunity, I'm not sure if you've heard of Limitless Wrestling or not, but the opportunity that I got with them was because I decided to drive, you know, 7-8 hours to Massachusetts to like do the Beyond Wrestling like studio taping. I did the Beyond Wrestling studio taping. The booker or the owner from Limitless liked me. Then after that, the owner from Limitless, you know, invited me 12 hours to travel to Maine. It wasn't an opportunity where I was getting paid. It was a tryout. I drove 12 hours, you know, in a monsoon, literally. And, you know, I did what I had to do. They ended up liking me, and I became like a main part of their roster for like over a year. So, you know, like I try to tell people, you know, like, and I try to say it to where it doesn't sound like, you know, I have an ego or anything, but at some point you have to look at the results. You have to look at the statistics. And if you look at everybody in Maryland, and, you know, no disrespect to anybody at like MCW, but even the guy, like some of the top guys there, like they haven't even done half of the stuff that I've done, and they've had way better training, you know, than I have.
Yeah. It's yeah, like I said, man, you know, it's you got to be appreciative of opportunities that you do get. That's something that like I've learned very quickly, like in this business, just like you're saying, man, like, you know. And I think for me too, like, you know, when we met, you know, over at with Sicken, like that was like the one thing I got from you is that you don't waste time, and that's because you understand, like, you know, we got things that we got to get done. And it was funny, man, because like I talked to my friend. Well, you met him. I talked to Chaz, and Chaz kind of got the same impression that I got. Like, hey, man, we don't got time for bullshit because we want to be able to hit the ground running, full speed, you know. And we just saw your mentality. And I think just that quick interaction with you, we got the same vibe. And I was like, yo, this is what I want to do. I was like, I just want to hit the ground running with him. So very much, man. Like I said, the first time I met you, I was like, yo, this is a mad appreciative thing just to get, you know.
Like, I'm glad that y'all, you know, were like, I'm glad that y'all listened when I spoke. Like, because, you know, anybody can say anything. You know, I can sit up here and say, you know, I'm a millionaire, but if you're not seeing, you know, the fruits of my labor, then it's bullshit. But if I'm sitting up here and I'm telling you, if I'm sitting up here telling you that, you know, y'all should do this, y'all should do that. Hey, look, these to do, you know, and it's like, you know, you see that I'm not bullshitting you. Like, at the end of the day, I just want to see people succeed, because it's not a lot of people from this area that make it. It's not a lot of people from this area that are on like a national thing or that even opportunity. Like, think about it. You have people who've been in this business for 10, 15 years that had TV once. And me, I can say, you know, I've been very blessed because I've been, you know, had opportunities with MLW, AEW, WWE, and you know, it was even like a thing with Impact, but I wasn't able to make it there. But that would have been another, you know, opportunity for me to be seen nationally. And it's like, I do this a lot of times. I get these opportunities just by, you know, being in the right place at the right time. And I don't know, it's just weird because I talk to a lot of guys now, like even younger guys, people who've been in the business for about 2-3 years, and I hear them talking about, oh, well, I don't want to travel all the way there if they're not paying me this amount. And I'm like, 2 years into the business, I was lucky to get $20. Like, I mean, so just hearing, how they are, how entitled some of them feel, at this early, it's just like, good luck. I can only, tell you what I know. It's up to you to either, listen and apply it or just continue to do it your way. But you also have to look at who you're listening to. If you're listening to a guy that's been in the business for 15, 20 years that says he's a vet, but he hasn't been out of his backyard, yeah.
No. Yeah. I feel you. So it's going to be kind of like on a lighter heart kind of question, but every wrestler has them, right? So I'm kind of curious about yours. What's been like a favorite fan interaction that you've had?
Favorite fan interaction. It was this guy, and it really sucks because he actually died I want to say like last month, and it was him, his son, but he was a fan in Pennsylvania. And every show that I wrestled at Pennsylvania, and he was there. He always, came up, talked to me. And, one day, I think it was his daughter's birthday. So I just gave her a 8x10, and I signed it. And then he sends me a picture of her holding it, and saying, hey, she really likes the picture. Thank you. And, that right there, it really stuck to me because, like just going back to the message and seeing that, and I'm like, yo, he was always supportive of me. And this is like in my earlier years. And now it's like, I don't know, this kind of sucks, but, I always appreciated like seeing him at the shows.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. That's one thing I really do like. I like hearing those stories about people who like have those interactions with those fans, and then like they touch their lives, and then in return they they themselves get touched by somebody else's life. So it's kind of cool to hear like those great stories. So I'm gonna hand
Matter of
it
fact,
over.
here I got the picture. I just pulled it up, but this is it right here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but he sent the picture of his daughter, and saying that she said thank you. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
So what I'll do is I'm going to hand this over to Lou. He's going to have a bunch of questions for you. So give it up.
Mr. Graham, what's how are you doing today?
All right, yourself. Hey. All right, my bad. How are you?
I'm good. All right, so my first question for you is, what's the hardest bump you've taken?
It was in Canada, and I was doing a dive. So I went to do the dive, and everybody moved out of the way. So I grabbed the top rope, and like usually when you do a dive, like when I do my dives, I go over the top rope. So I do like a rotation. So I grabbed the rope, and as soon as I grabbed the rope, my rotation like went quick. So it was like I just did like a front flip and hit like my back on the corner of the apron.
Oh.
So yeah, that hurt bad.
No.
Yikes. All right, so I watched you do a 450 splash on Joey Janela. That can't be that one spot that you're like, holy shit, I just hit that. Give me that one spot that you
Hold on, say that one more time.
All right, so I was watching some videos. Been watching some videos of you since Cliff was all fanboying over you, saying Mr. Grimm's gonna be on AEW. Mr. Grimm's gonna be on AEW. So I watched you do a flip, a 450 splash on Joey Janela. That can't be your ultimate move that you've done it where you like, I cannot believe that you did that. what's that one move that you're like, did that just happen?
Um, Hold on, your phone is like breaking up, or your connect. I don't know if it's my connection, your connection, but it's like really choppy on.
Yeah. So what
It's
he was
like real choppy, so I can't.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so I want you to do a 450 splash on Joey Janela. What's that one move that you've done that you can't believe you just did?
Um. Okay, so it was a move. All right. So it was in. I want to say either it was February for a battle club, and I was in a triple threat. It was me, Trevor, Aeon, and Darius Carter. So I went to do my springboard swing blade. Him, it ended up turning into like, instead of it being like a swing blade, it was like I kind of did like a spinning blockbuster, so to speak. It was really weird. And after I watched it, I was like, yo, like I don't even know how I did that, or even if I could duplicate it. But yeah, it was kind of cool.
Awesome. All right, my last question for you. Let's jump in the time machine and speed this up 5 years. Where do you want to be?
Like, are you talking about company wise or like just in general?
In general, where do you want Mr. Grimm to be?
I want Mr. Grimm to be signed with a contract somewhere.
We'll take that. All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
I'm still trying to get this wrapped around my head about a spinning blockbuster.
Okay. So have you ever seen my swing blade, my springboard swing blade?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so just imagine, instead of me doing the swing blade, like from the springboard, as I'm turning, it turns into like a blockbuster.
I'm just like, yo, this actually fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I mean, and just to go back to his question, it is like one more thing that I was kind of excited to do that I never really practiced it before, show day. But it was the move where I had like two people on my shoulders, like in the fireman's carry, and then the other one, like I ended up catching them for in the crossbody. And then, doing the fall away slam and then the Samoa drop on the other two people. So it was like I was literally holding like three people.
I literally just watched that right before we got on.
That when I tried it, like, yeah, I was just like, yo, I'm like strong for my own good right now. Like, I don't even know how strong I really am. That's the scary part.
I mean, I saw you carry 3 grown men. I was like, that's an intimidating spot to have in the watch. I was like, okay, so there's a real fear there.
Yeah, I mean, like I just try to do things that you really don't see that much because even down to like the little things in my matches. Like just say, if somebody hits me, like, let's see, how can I? All right, so I got this from Sammy Callahan. I did a seminar, and what he said, it made total sense. Like, and the thing is, I never thought about it like this. So a lot of times, if you're looking, like, if you're watching the match, somebody will put somebody in the corner and then drape their arms around the ropes, and then they'll give them like a shot or like a gut shot or something, and they'll still have their arms around the ropes. Why? Like, if you really get hit and your arms are around the ropes, you're gonna bring them down to like cover up. So like just little stuff like that, And one thing I try to do is I watch UFC fights, and I look at like their knockouts and how the knockout looks from certain hits. So especially like when I'm having like a big man, little man match, like it gives me more to work with, because in the UFC, these are real people like really trying to kill each other. And you see a little guy, and you can be the most muscular person in the world. If you get hit at the right time in the right spot, you're going to drop. So I don't know if you seen my clip from MLW, but that was the first time that I actually did like the whole boxing, like, what is it, the timber, the tree falling down drop, the cell, where it's like he came in, gave me the elbow, and I just, fell like a tree was falling, man. Like stiffened up, just fell straight down, hit the mat. And it's like, little stuff like that. Like a lot of people really don't do stuff like that. Like you don't see it too often. And it shouldn't be done, all the time. But at certain moments, I would say that, it's, I lost my train of thought with that. Forgot the word, but at certain moments, I feel that it's necessary. Now, also, another thing that I do, and I don't know if I showed y'all this or not, but watching a match, if somebody's like, trying to work somebody's arm on the rope, how do they do it?
So sometimes you see it like when someone like pulls it over the top rope and just like wrenches it down.
Exactly. Now, in real life, does that shit hurt?
No. It does not.
Okay, so what I do, this is me. If I'm going to do somebody work somebody's arm on the rope, I'm going to take their arm and put it this way and pull it down to make it look like I'm hyperextending it. So, like, anybody can relate to that. Like, it was a match that I did. I forgot who I was working. But, I literally had them on, on the post. And I was pulling their arm, like, this way, on the post. And, like, you could see, like, the crowd. They were like, oh, like, and those are the reactions that I like, because it's different. It's stuff that you don't see a lot of people do. Funny story. I was just talking to, what was his name? Zabisco. His son. I did a show in Florida with, with his son. And we were talking, and I, told him about that. And he was like, you know what? You mind if I use that? I was like, go ahead, bro. Like, I don't care. Like, but even to have like the son of a legend, like, be willing to take some of my advice, that it really means a lot. And I mean, like, not to toot my own horn or or anything, but it goes to show I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Like, people, like, if you just sit and listen to me for a second, a lot of this stuff makes sense. Like, I'm not that same person I was, years ago, to where I was just trying to do any and everything. Now, I'm at the point where I'm trying to partially preserve my body and, actually work. Because if you're working TV and you're showing them things that, people aren't usually seeing, that gives you a better chance of coming back.
That makes 100% sense. Makes 100% sense. It's funny, man, because Lou and I are avid UFC fans, so I try like in like even in my own things, like I try to incorporate that a lot, because you're right, like the world of the UFC is like a prime example for things where you can pick and find and you can learn so much about about everything that's going on with like the human body, like the anatomy, and just watching how people like bend and like where real pressure is being put in. Because I agree, like there's some things in there in the world of wrestling where I'm like, I understand why you're doing that. It really doesn't affect anything.
Exactly.
But so that is kind of all of our questions, but we have to come down to the best segment of this show, which is the 3 Count Podcast 10 Count Questions. So here's how it works. We're going to fire off a bunch of questions at you, rapid fire, and then it's whatever's the first thought that comes to your mind.
So, wait, you really want the first thought that comes to my mind?
Oh, yeah. Trust me. We've got some interesting answers.
All right, just don't judge me. I don't know what else.
Oh, don't worry. Don't worry. We won't. So we'll put the imaginary timer on the clock. Bing! And here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
Potatoes.
Bet. Crazy enough, that's not the first time that we've heard something like that. Favorite Undertaker match?
Crap. Him versus Edge
Okay. One place you would
at
like to wrestle.
WrestleMania. Wait, froze up on me.
Oh, sorry. One place you'd like to wrestle.
Frozen Cliff. Come back to us.
Am I back from the Speed Force yet?
There it is. We got you.
Okay, I'm back.
One place you'd like to wrestle.
Japan.
Favorite movie?
Beauty and the Beast.
Batman or Superman?
Batman.
Actually, to go back to that previous question, live or animated?
Live.
Okay. Favorite
Wait.
UFC fighter?
Can you see me? Can you see me?
Yep.
Oh wait, I
Back?
don't know what's going on.
You're good now.
I think you're to take it all up. Wait, there we go. I can see you.
Okay. Favorite
Wait, I
UFC
could.
fighter?
John Bones Jones.
It's a Friday night. What are you doing?
Hanging out with my gremlins.
Favorite podcast?
I wouldn't necessarily have one. I don't really listen to podcasts like that, to be honest.
One day will be your favorite. So, nominate one person to be on this show.
I would say, I'm gonna go, even though I don't think he's a wrestler anymore, but I would say Matt Wild, the guy who helped train me.
Yep. And then our favorite question to ask everybody on this show, favorite curse word.
Fuck.
Yes. Yes, for never.
So the only thing that we have left for you, good sir, is to let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
Well, definitely In My Skin. But if you go to Google, put in either Mr. Grimm Wrestler or the Hitman for Hire Mr. Grimm, and all of my stuff will literally come up. Like, I try to make sure I'm pretty good with this marketing thing, and I made it so people can easily find me on the internet. Like, you'll see my YouTube, my Twitter, my Instagram, Facebook, my Brown Butter Wrestling page. Like, yeah.
Bet. So this is the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering Ring. I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, here with Luda Franchise. And like I said, this is Now Entering Ring with Mr. Grimm. So tune into the next episode and be there or be somewhere else.
Hello, 3 Count Podcast. If you enjoy what you're watching and you wouldn't mind going out your day to support us, go follow us on Twitter at 3count_pod, Instagram 3countpod, and if you want to look dripped out like your boy JJ, go to prowrestlingtees.com/the3countpod, and it's the number 3. Oh, and by the mention, we have a YouTube channel, so go check that out. The 3 Count Podcast with the number 3. JJ out.